Does it say it's recording?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the first prompt is, in what ways did the documentary change or challenge your assumptions about human trafficking? So the first thing that I wanted to say that I wrote down was, I think it was crazy that when the moms were trying to get the lawyers to be in on this, they were like, no, this is too big of a problem. Like, we can't take this on. And that's like the biggest issue with this, is it's getting bigger and bigger, and it'll always be so hard to take it on. So.
I wanted to pinpoint off what you just said too, because it was crazy how like this law was created back in like when the internet first got like big or whatever, and it's like protecting like these big companies. Yeah, I understand like you are not responsible for like what people post like on your page and stuff, but at the same time like you're kind of like they said, like you're kind of like in business with like the pimps and stuff, because like they were saying like it was like the president or something was like, oh, you guys can what it was like, hi, like you guys, it was just like ways to help the pimps. Like I'm just like, are you serious? Like what? It was crazy.
Yeah, I also thought it was weird how sorry, I don't know if you heard that. I also thought it was weird how like the very first victim, it was her mother that was the one that found her. So it was like, I'm sure she filed a police report, right? And I'm sure police know about it because the second victim, they found the second victim off of that back page. But it's just like insane to me how like anyone has access to it. Like, you know, like a mother found her daughter through the back page. Like that's insane to me. And I think like a thing I didn't realize about human trafficking is there's like this was on such a main site, you know, like you could buy like a lawnmower, but then you can also buy a person. Like it was like disgusting how like it could be anywhere and you just don't know it.
That's one of the, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this could go on and on because we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Twitters, we have all that access, and it's an easy access, you know, especially during this time and the pandemic. Everybody's just on social media, everything, you know.
Exactly. And it was so crazy, like too, like when they said like the back page, it was the lady or it was like the representative of the back page or whatever, and they were saying like, oh well, what can we do? And they was like, oh, we'll just hire moderators to just like just look for like banned words like young girls or whatever. I'm like, but that doesn't, like that's not, I mean that's something, but it's like it's really nothing at the end of the day.
And that's what the lawyer said when he made his argument, is he's like, if you go on there and you try to submit your own ad, there's essentially rules that say, don't put this in there, don't put this in there, or how they were changing the numbers so that you couldn't use like the phone numbers and 15-minute increment times. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, but then did you guys see that part in the scene too where it was the judge was kind of like comparing like I was like, okay, don't get me wrong, like we know judges are old and like back in the day maybe internet was not as like prevalent as it is today, but it's like I feel like maybe in the like court scene, like maybe they should have brought the judge like, hey, you look how easy it is, like you click, you can order somebody, like
it's an easy access.
Yeah, I thought that was disgusting with the judge. Like he was just,
I guess like, yeah, people
are stuck in their ways.
Like that's,
yeah, he was like, I don't see how that's violent.
Yeah, he's like, sorry,
like
it's vulgar. Some people just like that stuff. And then
like,
he excused it. And they're like, we're talking about children. Like,
yeah, it was very disgusting. I thought that part was gross too. And to touch on the lawyer part, like the lawyer for Backpage, like I thought that was a horrible situation too. Like they're fueling the human trafficking and like the selling portion of it because of how much money they're making. Like she obviously has some type of like antisocial personality disorder because it showed like she had no remorse. Like the parents of the victims were even there saying like, what if this happened to your daughter? She said, I hope it won't. Like, you never know who it's going to be. I thought that was like so sick how she was defending them. Like, I get it, it's her job, but seriously.
Even though they're constantly profiting. And Anderson Cooper interviewed her, and he was like, I don't know like everything about the internet, but I'm not stupid. This is obviously a money issue, not a whatever else type of issue.
Exactly. And then it was too crazy too, because like you said, like the parents were like, what happened? Like I feel like that's the thing, like, oh, we're just like, because when I first started like learning about human trafficking, I just thought it was in third world countries. So when it was crazy, when I was like hearing stuff like close to home, I'm like, you have to think about what if it was your sister, your brother, and stuff like that. And it was crazy because it was another question that she wanted us to discuss was like in the video kind of asked us like who, like what, I think it was like in our mind, who did we believe was like the traffickers and stuff. And it was crazy in the video. They were saying like it was a former human trafficker, and he was saying like lawyers, freaking like
Lawyers,
people who know the law. Why are they like that's crazy? Like you know the law, you have like you are in control in some way, and you're doing illegal stuff like.
and that was also what was crazy is that guy that was talking, he was like, don't mess with my money, like that's
it's my money. Yeah.
Like, if the
Oh yeah, I got such weird vibes from him.
yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's saying these things.
I know he like no longer traffics or something like that, but I was like, he is so creepy. Like still is creepy. He still showed like no remorse for the like the victims and stuff. Like it was cool.
I kind of feel like people in that position think that these girls are doing this willingly and that they don't look at themselves like in such a, oh well, I do think that they have no,
I'm gonna say because
but still,
he made it seem
like some of these girls, like they think that some of these girls are like, oh, this is cool. Like that one girl kept going back because she wanted the drugs. She kept
he made it seem like he was still doing them a favor, like still. And I'm like, he was so creepy to me. Like watching that, I was like, he is creepy.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like so crazy because it's like, I feel like I mean, I'm pretty like we were all young before, right? We all had social media, but it was like so crazy now. Like I never really experienced stuff like that, but it's like now, like when we get older, I'm pretty sure when we have kids, it's going to be maybe even a bigger issue. So I feel like it's going to be so important for us to just monitor, like when we have kids, like okay, who's on your social, like. I remember my parents like preaching that, like, who do you follow and stuff like that, but not like hearing this class is like, oh, it's very important. Like what apps you're on, what are you like saying, who are you talking to, if people DMing you, like you have to be like on top of everything.
And they made a really good point at like the end of the video that this needs to be a more talked about issue with like young kids nowadays. Like even as hard of a like talk that is kind of like a sex talk or like whatever, it's like this is stuff that could happen to you and just potentially like, please don't. Like the one girl thought that she was like a prostitute. She thought she did this to herself. And I don't know, I just feel like a lot of kids when they're not paid attention to enough or whatever, they seek those ways because it's
my parents were very strict growing up, like, and I appreciate it now. Like I was literally not even allowed to go around the block by myself until I turned 16. And at that point I already had a car. So I'm like, why would I ride my bike around the block? But like now I understand because they were like, you don't know who's out there. Like
that was back then when I feel like now it's just like
way
worse. There's so much
or like malls and stuff. Like I feel like that is a huge place too. Like on our what's it called, our Zoom presentations that we had on like February 9th and March 9th, the victim Nicole, it's like she was picked up at a mall. Like that's how she met her trafficker. And I'm like, that is such like a common.
And that's kind of where I was going back to like the pimp that they showed. Like Nicole thought that the boy was like her boyfriend, like an older guy that she was hanging out with. And then the judge made a point like, well, some of these guys just want to be seen with a younger girl. And then the lawyer comes back and he's like, all of these girls are presenting themselves in underwear. You want to be that old man that presents yourself with a young girl in underwear? Well, that's sick. He's like, I don't care how you twist it. That's sick.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go to another question. Unless you want to say something else. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, Alzheimer's. Go ahead. I'm gonna come.
Sorry. Okay. Who are the victims. I feel like we just kind of talked.
So like number 3. So for instance, this will be my last point. So we kind of answered question number 3. So who were the traffickers? Like I said, the lawyers and stuff. And they said like most of the men were like white, older, they married, and they have kids. So it was like if you're married, why are you think like I could see if you were like lonely, you ugly, whatever. Okay, maybe you're trying to pleasure yourself. But if you have a whole wife, why are you going out?
Yep. And there was one guy that was married, and like he said that he was addicted to pornography, and that's why he went in that website.
Yeah.
And then that's.
But you just got to tell your wife to bust it. How do people be on porn? Like you don't go out like doing young kids. And then I'm pretty sure when you are engaged in a sexual activity with young kids, like come on now, like you could tell a young girl versus a 20-year-old, a 21st, like right. You have to be like, wait, your titties are small. Like okay, something okay. Like, and then once you do that, like before you even do that, or even after you do that, you're not gonna go tell like, yo, I just met a young girl at such and such. Like it's like people just like they turn their head. Like no, what if this was your grandkid? What if this was your daughter? And that's just like the guy who just said it. Like, oh yeah, I was addicted to porn, and he told his kids, and his daughter went in the bathroom, like, or his kid. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like
so. In that situation, like, do you guys think like that guy was the trafficker? Because like kind of how I was thinking it was like the traffickers are like the initial people that, you know, like convince these young girls to like do it. And then they're the ones that like made the ads on the back page and all of that. I think like these people are just like sick, like mentally sick, and they're like the buyers, you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily consider them like the traffickers. I definitely think like that one guy who was the trafficker, you know what I mean? He was definitely like, I don't think he would be purchasing it, you know what I mean?
I think he was like the legit
recruited
pimp. And then there's like so I think that there's like a pimp, and then there's like a buying market, and
right,
pimp is the one that like takes in the young girls and then whatever at that point.
So I think like what they were talking about, like with the lawyers and politicians and like doctors and like all of like the higher up people that like you wouldn't think about, I think those are kind of like the buyers.
Sure.
I think of like the traffickers as like the people who like literally recruit the young girls or like convince them and all of that. And I definitely think Backpage was a huge part of the trafficking, like obviously, but I think that they are responsible for trafficking as well. Like I would consider Backpage is owners, like I don't know if you guys remember, like those two guys, I forget their names, but like they were so present in it. They were for sure, I think, part of the whole human trafficking ring.
Are you talking about the ones who was a part of like the newspaper and then they separated from the newspaper?
Yeah, but they were still a part of it. Like it came out later that they were still a part of it.
Oh my God. You know what's so crazy to me? And then we can move on. What's so crazy to me is at like towards the end, they had the little trial. And did you see the one guy was just looking at his watch like,
yeah, he's like, when is this gonna be over? Like,
yeah.
Issue. And then he's gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna like basically like he just gave up his right, like the Fifth Amendment or whatever. And I'm just like, like that just show you have no remorse. Like you have it was
sorry, like, but then again, admitting guilt, so I don't know.
Exactly. So that was that. So who was the traffickers? We discussed that. Did they match your ideals? So no, they did not match mine. I was thinking of like people who's like not attractive, maybe I don't know, disabled people. I would not think married people with kids in suburb neighborhoods. I would have never guessed that. It said
I feel like 5 is a good question too.
Okay, so it says some claims.
Just because it's like very controversial.
Okay.
So it says some claim that taking down sites like Backpage pushes sex workers onto the streets with no ability to screen their clients, limit choices for sex workers, and makes it more difficult for officials to investigate trafficking. Do you agree? Why or why not? I think that's crazy because I never even thought about it that way, that this is a place where not safe, but you at least have all the information. You have like the phone number, you have maybe a name, you have pictures versus them being online. You have a pimp that's literally out on the corner pulling up to cars saying, yo, I have this, this, and this. What do you want?
Okay, so I would think Okay, so it says, wait, I would think that that would be better, like the street, maybe. I think because it's like, okay, we're online, right? Okay, so I know they said don't talk about the movie Taken because that's not like the real deal of human trafficking. But do you remember like in like Taken 3, where he was trying to find his daughter, and it was just like so, like they moved so quickly. And then what if like the police do try to get close to a case that's online, like it could just up and disappear. You don't know where she is. But at least with the in like you're on the street with it. Okay, maybe we as people could be like, okay, we noticed not a lot of criminal activity or a lot of cars in this area, and then maybe, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I think
I
it's
do think that it's a crazy like question, like you said, Jessica, because I'm like, you don't think of that like other side of things. I think that through that back page, it was an easy access for anyone to see. Like I said, like the victim's mother was the one that found her on the back page. So I think like that's a thing. And since back pages shut off now, like they don't have that resource, like everyday people like us don't have that resource where they can go on it. So like that mother, if that back page wasn't there, she probably would have never found her daughter, which is like a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Or like any of those victims that were on back page, like they might not be where they're at today. But I also think like if it was pushed out more to the streets, like there are always options, right? Like you look prostitutes on the corner, that's legal, like cops can stop by anytime and arrest them. So I don't know. It's like kind of like that is a difficult question because obviously it's all wrong and you want it all to be shut down and stuff like that. But I don't know. And like I think a lot of those pictures too on back page, like you would think that they wouldn't show the face.
right.
The victims, like, because okay, anyone can see that then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know, like, oh, that's my daughter.
Mhm.
Not many people know just by like body type, which is a horrible thing to even say, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I think
what.
both sides of it is kind of like plus and negatives because while you're on back page, like the one girl said, she was like, I was ordered as easy as it is to order a pizza. And then her mom was like, and that happened 20 times a day. And I feel like that is like the ease of back page of how easy it is to type in escort and like a ton of things pop up. Yeah. But then while you're on the street, you have to seek that out. And I mean, obviously there's areas that people know of, but yeah. I just feel like it's a lot easier to go on Backpage and do that. Yet on the streets, it's a lot harder, and it's a lot harder to track it.
But it though be hard to track it though, because I feel like that would kind of be like easy, like
I mean, Backpage or on the street.
On the street.
I don't know, because like. Yeah, like, oh, Ice Daddy is the pimp, and you see his girls that are always with him, but
that's what I'm saying.
What is happening
with Backpage? Yeah, with Backpage, it's really hard to see who's going in there and how they're gonna get caught by cops, But with prostitution, you can see them, like you said, there's cops, there's somebody's watching. You go over there they are.
Exactly. But then too, it's so crazy too to go back to like you said how easy it is, and it goes back to like how Backpage was just basically like sponsoring it. Like there was like, oh, use MasterCards and Visa. What? So the police cannot detect you, like they won't even know or whatever. But it was also crazy too, and I'm just gonna say this, for instance, like how like again it goes back to movies and stuff, like, or just in general, like I was thinking like when people get trafficked, they move, like even in our presentations, like the teacher said that people just move all over the place, right? And it was so crazy how like the girl was taken in, I think the girl was in Boston or Seattle, and the mom found her in that same state. And it was so crazy because it's like you go out looking for your kid and they're still here, but it's just like, but where was they hiding at? Like that's just like
behind closed doors.
Yeah, like JS, the father was like, I was driving around looking at bad neighborhoods and couldn't find her, but she was still in that city. Like, what?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is.
And it's sad how like unknown it is. I feel like before this class, I was like, yeah, I know this is a really big issue. Like, and like all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff was going on like right as we started this class. And I'm like, it's so much bigger of an issue than you even think. And Michigan is like one of the top places for human trafficking. Crossing is like the biggest place in Michigan for human trafficking.
But then too, did you guys remember at the beginning of the scene? I think when it was talking about the MA girl, and they were saying like something. It was like a whole bunch of girls, and some of the girls got in the car with the guy, and MA was like, she didn't want to get in the car, and then the female was like, oh well, I'll take, and that just started. Okay, okay. Human trafficking is wrong in general, but come on, you're a female. You know what she about to sign up for, and you like, oh come on.
Probably trafficked too, though.
Anyone.
So what?
She was probably trafficked too, is what I'm assuming.
Like,
and like these women, like after they're trafficked, it's horrible, but they're like still so vulnerable and still so trusting of their trafficker that they're going to do anything they say. One, because they want whatever they're going to keep giving them. Exactly. So I think, like, that's such a horrible thing. But yeah, I think it is like what Jessica was saying. It's like sad because like we all know human trafficking is a thing, right? But I don't think everyone knows like the extent of it. Like I think this class should be for every single college student or even in high school. You know what I mean? Like, kids know, even in middle school, like as sad as it is, they go for the young children.
Like an assembly or something like, to at least tell them. Like I feel like at that age in middle school, high school, I was like, okay, yeah, your parents tell you like there's creepy people on the internet, don't talk to people you don't know, don't add friends you don't know, but not to the extent like don't like just I don't know. I don't even know how you would go about that type of conversation because it's terrifying.
It is.
Yeah. But I think I was very lucky because like I said, my parents were very strict growing up and that like made me very sheltered. But like I know like if some random person comes up to me on the street, I will not talk to them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I always keep like my keys in my hand, like having it stuck out, pepper spray, like always, like I think like just even like young boys, you never know. And like I said, there's like so many different things of human trafficking too. There's labor trafficking and everything like that. But I think like the biggest part is the sex trafficking part of it. And especially for young females, like I think they should know like protective things that they should do, even though like you don't want to teach your daughter like to do that stuff because how horrible, you want your kid to be safe, but that's not the world we live in. So,
and like going back to what we said about like the women that are luring these girls in were probably in that type of situation at one point. I was like reading into all the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, and Ghislaine Maxwell was that woman for him and lured all these young girls in, told them they were going to give them great opportunities, great acting opportunities. And then the truth was that she had a terrible upbringing and terrible father and all that. And it's like, it's just such a cycle that will never be broken, I feel.
And that's
like in all honesty, like if we were approached by a man on the street and then a woman approached us, we would feel safer with the woman. Like just like how
like that
we all are.
The film, yeah.
So but then too, did you guys see when the guy was saying like the different ways that they like lower women in? The former trafficker was saying like he used like seduction, and it goes back to Jessica what you were saying, which was basically obviously it's not the family fault or the kid's fault, but like when your parents don't pay attention to you, when like you said, they look for people who don't make eye contact, they look for people who's at the mall or walking around with their head down. Like it's sad that we have to be like, again, like how do you go about that? Like you can't, because wow, I mean, because I know when I like was a kid, like I mean I don't look at older people, I'd be like, well, okay, like okay. You know what I'm saying? But that's so crazy. Like, you guys know that kids they're not fully developed. They're not mentally don't know what's going on. And you being an adult, you know what you're doing. You know what you're getting them for. And you're like, oh, like the pimp was saying, the former pimp was like, basically, I'm her world, or like I'm all that she needs. And it's like are you like kids? Is it really kids out here that really think like, my parents don't love me, or oh my gosh, like the
somehow think that this guy is helping them more than anybody else could.
Yeah, even though you work with 20 people a day. This is
I think a main point about that too is since they do traffic like young, primarily girls, they do traffic boys too, but like for this instance, they're trafficking young girls. And like when we're in middle school, how our hormones are out of whack, right? We're going through all these body changes. You feel
Yep.
insecure about yourself. Your body's changing. You're like, what's going on? And then finally, an older dude gives you attention and you're like,
wow.
so like they prey on the vulnerabilities, they prey on the insecurities, which is so sad, but that's the population where it's going to be like more known, you know, like young girls are the ones that are like the most insecure during that time because of all their hormonal changes, body changes. Like it's just sad.
It is. But like I said, they said with the like our videos with like the March the 9th and what is it? Well, you know, the meetings with the teacher was hosting, and they were saying like the only reason why this stuff is happening is because it's a need. Once we like limit the need, it won't, none of this will be happening. And then to me, I wonder, like, yeah, the world is sick right now, right? I wonder when we get older and other generations come, will there still be like, oh, I want a younger girl? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, I don't even know how this became even a thing, like with kids, but I wonder if we,
Yeah, I think there is.
future, like let's say in the future, if we can get human trafficking more out there and people more aware of what is going on, I wonder in years to come with that kind of decrease and Backpage won't be a thing or whatever with the kids. Or you guys, what do you guys think?
As disgusting as it is, I think this will always be a thing. I think, you know, every person has their own quirks and their own fetishes, and as like horrible as it is, there's always going to be men that are going to want a certain thing. And this market is just makes so much money, and
Easy access.
that's what is keeping it going is the money. That's like really the only reason. If
That's
these
what I was
people
gonna say
weren't
too.
making the money, it wouldn't
Yeah,
be.
they put like the picture up, and they said it also in our talks with the FBI that drug trafficking, you sell the drug once.
Yeah.
One human you can traffic multiple times over and over again.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And that's
Crazy.
crazy because it's like, how could you, yes, we want drug trafficking to go down, but you don't want sex trafficking to go up. Like, it's so crazy that people are straying from drug trafficking and going to human trafficking. Like,
Yeah, it's the same thing with labor trafficking too, you know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna do the work themselves, and they're gonna pay someone at a very minimal price and hold it against them, but they're gonna be making the money while the person suffers, you know what I mean? So it's all about money, it's all about power.
Exactly. But then let's look at question number 7, because this one's a good one too. Like, how can governments, civil social society organizations, service providers, academics, activists, and faith leaders engage in interdisciplinary partnerships to confront human trafficking online? I feel like you said, like we have to be like the professor always asks us when we do our reflections, like, oh, well, what more can you do, or like what makes you think, you know, like how could you be more involved? And I really think like it's going to take a village for us to see change. Like I feel like the government needs to first of all just change some like the laws, like that common whatever is CDA, whatever that's for protecting these pages, like that gotta like, and that's so crazy to me. I feel like I was just with my friend last night, like I feel like after so many years we have to like rewrite laws because obviously when you rewrote it, it's different now. Like that was just like for instance, I think it was in our, I don't know, was it in our homework or something? It was saying how, oh yeah, for reporting, right? She was saying how like a law was created back in the 1900s that was basically, you know, not protecting people who was in abusive relationships or people who human trafficking. That is the thing now. We have to kind of rewrite that law to fit those people in that same boat. So I feel like the government just needs to be better at like creating more laws to protect people, especially with new stuff going on. I feel like the academic, again, incorporate classes, whether that be college, whether that be like you need this class to graduate. High school, middle school, again, maybe you can have like speak people come in. Like I know in my high school we had like different people just come in and speak to us. Have people talk to you guys, have victims, have police, like kind of how we did on this Zoom meeting. Talk to young kids so they be aware because you know they don't know. Service providers, I don't know, like what
I think in general awareness about it, like the politicians and the judges that were there, they like the one lawyer or whoever it was said, she's like, I don't think that they truly even knew like the extent to what we were even talking about. They've never, obviously, hopefully never been on Backpage, even though they said they've sold them to politicians anyways. But
Yeah.
you would think that like they would want to be more educated about such a crazy concept.
Yeah.
And I think that like when it comes to like it asks like what can academia do, I think just educating young kids, like the one girl, I don't remember, the one with the red hair, she was like, I considered myself a prostitute, but it took me a very long time to realize like, no, I was a child, and these are things that happen.
they
to me.
brainwash.
And even though she did essentially put herself in that situation, I think that being able to educate kids, like she was 13 or 15, I don't remember which was what, but
Exactly.
being able to educate young kids at that age to be like, listen, this is what happens. Don't put yourself out there like that because this is what happens.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just be
nothing from
straightforward
her,
with it. Because nowadays, like, I feel like like she was even saying sex is so like more prevalent in high school now, even in middle school now, because I don't know why, but I don't know.
I think
It's
because
not
like
that
kids are
crazy of a
more
deal.
aware, you
Yeah.
know, like when I was little,
now.
I didn't have a phone until middle school.
That's what I was
right?
gonna say.
And-
I didn't even have a phone until I was 13. I didn't have
Yeah.
an Instagram or access to a computer like people do nowadays.
Right. Like my mom never let me have Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram, Snapchat until I got into like high school or whatever. But at that point, I already knew. But even still, like I think like people give kindergartners phones. You know what I mean? Like kids are so
And for the dumbest reasons. Oh, because I want them to be able to call me a house phone. A house phone will do that. Like
kids are so technical savvy, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
literally a 5-year-old could log on to Instagram. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think this is always going to be an issue, but I find it crazy how like there are no or not much like information, like news article, like news, like facts to news. Like,
Mhm.
why is this not a thing to talk about? Like,
That's what I was saying, because back to
there's this thing going on like my Facebook, like in my area, people are like posting all over Facebook, like watch out for this, like they're putting like a little rubber duck on like windshields,
Mhm.
and like they're like watch out for this because there's men in vans like ready to grab you once you go and get it. And I'm like, why is that not on, if that's on my news article on Facebook, like why is that not broadcasted on every,
Mhm.
no, because like that's
At
people.
the Kroger by my house, there was people putting flyers into windshields, and then they would snatch them up. It's like, it's a mile from my house. That's crazy. And I live on 23 in Hayes. It's a very like
Yeah, no, I live at
well-known area.
Shaner.
You know what
I live at 11 in Shaner on the east
Yeah.
side. So I like know what you're talking about. And it's like all over. It doesn't matter where you're at. But I definitely think like a first step is like having it broadcasted. Like I know this is totally separate, but like Gabby Petito and how they found her in like a week because everywhere was broadcasted. You know, like that was all anyone could talk about. Like this should be a topic where that's all anyone can talk about, because it could happen to you, it could happen to your family, like you know what I mean, like it could happen to anyone. So I think like the first step is like just making it known.
And I think also going back to like the Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein thing, she was the woman that did that, and he's dead now. So they are using her kind of as not a scapegoat, but as an example to say like,
everybody else
this
out there.
she is the woman that helped him. And nobody thinks about that, I feel like. And yet that was never on the news either. Like, hey, this woman helped traffic a man and sold to multiple billionaires that are very well known.
Yeah. And that goes back to like they said on the our meeting, which is like it could have like our neighbors could be into some stuff we don't even know. Like no matter if you live in the richest neighborhood, the poorest neighborhood, it goes on. Like it was an assignment that we had to do. You guys remember where we had to find like a news article in our area about human trafficking and stuff? And I did like article that was in the city of Detroit, and it was literally by St. John Hospital, like on the east side, and it was like, how does the neighbor, again, it goes back to we have to be the eyes, the ears, everything of what's going on in our neighborhood. How did the neighbors did not know that, oh dang, it's a lot of cars, it's new people going in and out, like how
I feel like
how
it's not such a well-known concept. concept
that's why
that people don't
awareness.
even think about it that way.
Yeah,
They would go
that's why-
probably to, oh, it's a drug house before it's a sex house.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like, and that was a good point. I think that the news should start broadcasting that because bring awareness. Like, it's a whole bunch of girls going missing, and then to me, it's so crazy because it's like it was I don't know if it was a homework assignment or something. I was reading, it was like, oh, the police know like where they be at, but it's like, okay, why are there not like I need more effort.
Yeah.
This is no. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder why the newscasts don't broadcast that. Or like when a girl go missing. Or like, well, we kind of see those like when you guys watching it. Oh,
But
so this
they're
went
said
missing.
to be runaways or whatever. Like that one girl ran away 3 times, but really
Yeah.
she was running back for the drugs,
the drugs,
knowing
yeah.
she was gonna get herself into, but it's because she's addicted to drugs. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like they're casted as runaways or missing children, but not like
Sex
people don't think about the backstory. Like, oh yeah, like there's sick people that kidnap girls, and maybe she'll end up dead, but not maybe she'll end up human trafficked, and maybe she'll end
Exactly.
up, I feel like they go immediately to other things. And
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think, like I said, I think like just with the judges, like they should have just like demonstrated, like, here, judge, here, go on the internet, here, look, like, see, because like you said, like maybe a lot of people is not aware of like how easy it is and what's going on. So I feel like that would be a change. But yeah, I think we answered 3 questions.
Yeah, we're done. We're good.
Period. Okay. Well,
All right.
that was
good job,
fun, you
guys.
guys. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording.